All right, guys, what's up? This is the recap and preview in between week 1 and week 2. I thought I'd try something a little different this year. This is the first try, so bear with me. If it's a little rough around the edges, I'll get better as we go. If you guys like this format, if not, I can go back to just typing it up. But I thought this would be kind of fun. So before we get started, I want to take a second to plug one of our partners. So Cuddy Eats on YouTube. So you guys can check that out. That's youtube.com/CuddyEats. I love his videos. I watch them every Monday at lunch. Really keeps me up to date on some of the newest items on many of the popular fast food menus. Highly recommend that you guys check it out. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to his channel. Like all his videos, drop some comments, and plug it to your friends. He's a good friend. And of the what we're doing here, he's really supportive, and it would be great to pass that on to him. So moving on, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just kind of go through what happened last week, and then talk about some of the things that were surprising, some of the things that weren't as surprising, what that kind of means moving forward, and then we'll look at what's happening this week, who's matching up with who. I'll give you guys some predictions, which are probably going to be bad. But if I finish the year, I said 500, you guys said 600, so we'll split the difference. We'll do 550. So if I'm over 550, you guys have to chip in and buy me dinner one day, and that sounds great. So awesome. Without further ado, we will jump in and get started. Okay, guys, so what we're looking at here is just last week's scoreboard. So you guys can see right here at the top of your screen. Pretty big week for me, mainly because I was the lowest scoring winner. But a win is a win, and I move on 1-0 against Brandon. He's going to want to have that one back. Logan, on the other hand, matching up here against Blake. Highest scoring loser, rather. Definitely going to be disappointing. Blake put up a ton of points behind some pretty outstanding performances, so good for him. Cole, highest score of week 1. As he mentioned to some of us, he'll never score that many points the rest of the season. I don't think anybody will. Week 1 is usually kind of a big week in fantasy in general. And usually kind of comes back in once the defenses kind of get set. I think generally it's easier to play offense without a whole lot of practice, and the defenses are a little more rusty, getting used to the schemes and things like that. Daniel dropped a tough one. It's a good week to have an off week if you're playing against Cole, because even if you had really, really good scores, probably still going to drop that one. Dustin played Jonathan in probably the closest matchup. It was either between that or me and Brandon, but Dustin sneaks out the win. Below that, Matt beat Clints Team. Not bad, not great. Jeremy's team, really, really bad. He said he hated his team. I gave him a pretty good draft score. Jeremy was right. I was wrong. Jeremy's team sucks. And Thomas put up pretty good points to pull that one away. So we'll take a look at each matchup. And just kind of flesh out some of the interesting points in each one. So the first one's going to be me versus Brandon. Some of the things that jump right out to me is Ezekiel Elliott only put up 12.8 points. That's probably not going to be the case moving forward. He's kind of getting just brought back into it slowly, get back up to the speed of things. He looked good when he was out there. I expect that he'll put up some decent points moving forward. Lamar Jackson, obviously the biggest surprise here, 43.4 points. That is outrageous. I don't anticipate that being the case. Miami is really, really, really bad. But it is worth noting Lamar Jackson looked really accurate. It looked like he really improved that part of his game going into this season, so that's big. Nothing else really too surprising on Brandon's side. I gave him a pretty low draft score. Sony Michel, bad. Eagles defense, pretty bad against Washington, which is probably not a great team. Jason Myers, not a whole lot of points. Seattle I actually think that's a decent pick. He's just not going to be probably a big point scorer. He's going to be more consistency throughout the season, which is fine. You just don't want your kicker to lose you the game. Keenan Allen, pretty good points. A lot more to go there. I would like to point out, so James Conner, the sit this week, actually not a bad decision, right? They looked pretty rough, but still would have been better than Sony Michel. On my side of things, so pretty good consistent numbers here, but nothing that really jumps off and says, wow, man, I'm really excited about this. Le'Veon Bell did play 100% of the snaps for the Jets, which is exciting, especially now that Sam Darnold is out. However, he also had an MRI for a shoulder injury today, so that's a little concerning, especially since that's probably one of the stronger positions on my team. I do like Tyrell Williams. I think Tyrell Williams is going to be really, really good, especially with all the Antonio Brown drama. I think he's probably going to be somebody I'm going to feature a lot in my lineups. So that's it for that one. Nothing too surprising except for definitely Lamar Jackson. That was probably the biggest surprise out of this matchup. So next we have Logan and Blake here. Blake's team obviously just surprises across the boards. As he so helpfully pointed out, Sammy Watkins, what the hell? Never would have guessed. 42.3 points. That's insane. I actually think this is probably going to be a trend for the next little bit. With Tyreek Hill out, Sammy Watkins has shown that he can still put up a lot of points in big bunches, and they're probably going to have to lean on him a little bit. Dalvin Cook looked really, really solid for Minnesota against Atlanta. Now, Atlanta could not stop anything. Anybody could run through those holes. But still, it's good to see Dalvin Cook kind of get going. A lot of people say he's really going to be a running back of the future, so it's nice to see that he's at least off to a good start. Deshaun Watson, I think, is another really encouraging point here. The Texans looked really good. New Orleans is no slouch on defense. I think that is going to be a really good thing for Blake moving forward for his team. Evan Ingram, I love Evan Ingram. I think it's a great pick. He looked really, really good, and they're probably going to have to rely on him to bail them out quite a bit during the season. For Logan, some of the things that are really encouraging, Austin Eckler really just looked like he had a handle of the offense. Word out of Los Angeles is Melvin Gordon is prepared to miss up to 8 weeks of the regular season, so that's really good for Austin Eckler's numbers. I think that's encouraging. DeAndre Hopkins picked up right where he left off. Biggest surprise for Logan's team is definitely T.Y. Hilton. So I thought that he would struggle not having Andrew Luck. He looked really comfortable. A lot of chemistry with Jacoby Brissett. Kind of makes sense. Got a quarterback not really coming in with a whole lot of background. He's probably going to rely on his veterans. T.Y. Hilton's shown that he can get it done. So I think that's probably going to be a good pick. Aaron Jones sucks. O.J. Howard, I'm concerned about anything in Tampa Bay right now. Tampa Bay just does not look organized on offense. That's concerning. Stephon Diggs will put up better numbers. The Cowboys defense, you got to be concerned about allowing 17 points from the Giants. They don't have anything. They just need to make more plays, I guess, moving forward. Fairburn, he'll be fine. Struggled, but he'll put up decent numbers. That Texans offense is really good. Moving on here, we got Cole and Daniel. Big surprise here. Dak Prescott, he'll never put up that many points ever again in his entire career. Write it down. I said it. Dak Prescott, still think he sucks. 3 of his touchdowns came off of play action, so that's completely dependent on the run game. And so I think that Ezekiel Elliott, the road to Cowboy success is still paved with Jerry Jones's money going into Ezekiel Elliott's pocket and not Dak Prescott's. David Johnson looked really good. Derrick Henry, love that pick. He's going to be awesome this year. Telling you, breakout year. He's going to be one of the biggest names in running backs this year. The Titans defense, that's incredible. That's an incredible number against an offense that was supposed to be really, really good. Very encouraging. I doubt that it ever gets that high again the rest of the season, but still, I think it's a solid defense. I think I kind of poo-pooed it a little bit in the draft grades, but it looks really strong. So they look good. The defensive pass rush will get better. The secondary will get better, which is scary to think about. And our defensive line is still not really 100% healthy, so that's encouraging. I think we look really strong. Harrison Butker is going to be a monster all year. Kansas City offense is going to run wild. The Jags are supposed to have a pretty good defense. They still put up a ton of points. That's going to be a solid pick. Other surprises, I want to come down here to the bench. Number 1, Jacoby Brissett looked competent. So this might not be a throwaway pick down here as a backup quarterback. Jimmy G is, of course, a throwaway pick, but I think Brissett is actually going to be really solid. Deshaun Jackson looked amazing in return to Philly, and he is definitely going to be that stretch receiver that they're going to just throw it up deep to just to keep the defense honest, and he can make it happen at any moment. Washington is not great, but they do have Josh Norman, so you would expect that they wouldn't be able to just run wild on him. So Deshaun Jackson is definitely going to be somebody I want to keep an eye on moving forward. Coming over here to Daniel's team, not a whole lot jumps off at me except for the Jags defense. This is probably an abomination. You're against Kansas City. They're one of the best offenses probably in history. Maybe that's probably a little bit of a stretch to say, but I'm pretty confident that this -8, that's an abomination. Greg Zuerlein, great pick. Delaney Walker, he looks awesome. Marcus is still clearly the most comfortable with him. I think he's playing angry this year. I think he has a lot to prove. That number is only going to continue to grow. Jamison Crowder, that's a good number. It's not bad, but I don't know. Don't see a whole lot to like on Daniel's team here. So then we go over to Jonathan and Dustin. Both of these teams looked solid. Let's see if anything really jumps off at us here. Joe Mixon, 2.7. I think that's probably not going to be the trend. I think Joe Mixon's probably going to see a lot more carries. Seattle's kind of a tough matchup for their offense, but I do think that he'll put a little bit more together. Over here for Dustin, Josh Jacobs, he looked great. He looked tremendous. He looked like somebody Oakland can rely on. Oakland was able to throw the ball pretty effectively against Denver, who does have some decent defensive backs. So I think that's encouraging. I think Aaron Rodgers is probably not going to struggle the way that he struggled in Game 1 against Chicago. I think that'll probably get a little bit better. The Vikings defense, that's a lot of points against a good, high-powered offense. Their defense is always supposed to be pretty good. I think that will continue for him. Nick Chubb, that was a really tough matchup. The Titans defense has always been good at stopping the run. That's something they really pride themselves on, their interior linebacker play. I think that he's still going to be a workhorse throughout the year. Jonathan's team, Michael Gallup, actually carved out a really, really nice niche in the Cowboys offense, and I think that he's probably going to see a lot more feature. I think that we'll quickly see Gallup come a staple in Jonathan's weekly lineups. So that's it for that matchup. So let's move on to the next one. So Matt's team was really, really good. I think I gave him a pretty good rating. Clints team, kind of on the struggle bus here. David Montgomery, I just don't see it, man. They said that they were going to be a run-first offense, but he had 6 touches. That's horrible. Matt's team put up really good numbers despite Cam Newton dropping a 5-er. I think that's obviously going to change. Marlon Mack looked really, really good, and he was steady for different points of the season last year, and it looks like they're going to try to give him a lot of the workload. So I think that's good moving forward. The Ravens defense, they're against Miami, so 19 is a fluke, but their defense is really, really talented. Big Nuts Lutz coming through with that clutch game winner. A lot of points there. Really, really nice. For Clint, so Mark Ingram, 22.7 points. That's stout. Again, I know that I keep mentioning it with Baltimore, but it is the Dolphins. The Dolphins look like a high school team out there, so I'm not surprised that they put up points. Big Ben and Juju, these numbers will change. Big Ben and Juju will get it figured out. The offense will get back together. They're going to score more points. Bears defense looks like a great pick. Matt Bryant, I also don't expect to see the 0 there for him. He's a great player. Marcus Mariota, 30.2. You might as well just go ahead and write it down. He's the best fantasy quarterback in the league this year. Start him every game. Don't care. Start him. So that's it for that one. The last one we're going to talk about from last week is Jeremy's team, which looked horrible, lowest point score of all of them, and Thomas. So surprises right off the bat for Jeremy. Chris Carson actually put up pretty decent points, and Jeremy's team was still not good. I mean, anytime your kicker is the second highest scorer, that's a concern. Tyreek Hill being hurt is just a killer. It really is. It's just a killer. Larry Fitzgerald looked really good, though. When the Cardinals were kind of struggling, the spark was Kyler Murray hooking up with Larry Fitzgerald on a deep pass. Whenever they needed a big play to kind of get in the right position to send it to overtime, they were looking at at linking up with Larry Fitzgerald. They were relying on him down the stretch, and I think that that's going to be a sign of what's going to go. Just like I said with Jacoby Brissett and T.Y. Hilton, you want to rely on your veteran players. You hope that they can provide that kind of presence, so that's encouraging. So as much as Tyreek Hill hurts, Larry Fitzgerald might be a good replacement, but the team is concerning. I feel pretty good about Jeremy's talent, but just something's got to flip. For Thomas, there's a lot to like here. Patty Mahomes, big numbers. That's going to continue. Jacksonville, it actually is going to get easier on defense in a lot of cases, a lot of these matchups. Christian McCaffrey, 38 points. Holy cow. Guy looked tremendous. Receiving, rushing. The offense is definitely his. Cam struggled, and it didn't matter for McCaffrey. Against a good, solid defensive opponent, McCaffrey's going to be the workhorse all year. Nothing really else to talk about in terms of the starters. Jimmy Graham, first touchdown of the year for anybody in the NFL. Congratulations. It'll probably be his only one all year. Kyler Murray looked really, really bad. But in the fourth quarter, it clicked. It was winning time. They got some things rolling on offense. I'm interested to see how that's going to progress throughout the season. I want Kyler to be successful, and we'll see how that all works out. So that's it for just kind of little brief recaps, touch on some of the things that are surprising and everything. Now we're going to move into week 2. Look at some of the – I'm not going to spend very much time. I'm kind of going to touch on a couple of the points that each team should kind of focus on and then give you guys some predictions. So let's just look at the matchups really quickly. So I'm playing Blake. Blake's team obviously popped off last week. That's a concern. Cole's playing Logan. Logan just can't catch anything lucky here. He played Blake last week, second high scorer. Now he's playing Cole, who was the high scorer in the week before. Jonathan is playing Daniel. Clint is playing Brandon. Brandon's team projected for a lot of points, man. He made some good pickups on the waiver wire, so I'm interested to see how that goes. Dustin's playing Jeremy. Jeremy's team is not projected for a lot, but I also don't know if he's made a lot of his lineup changes at this point in time. We'll look at that here in just a little bit. And then Matt's playing Thomas. Thomas's team looks really, really, really strong top to bottom. So that's definitely concerning for Matt. But Matt's team does have some strong points, so we'll see how that works out as we go through this. So the first one we're going to start with is mine and Blake's. I'm going to go ahead and apologize. All year, mine is going to be the first one that comes up in both cases just because I'm logged in on my account. I'll maybe try to switch it up, but don't count on it. So just looking at it, for Blake, the key probably is going to be this New England offense. So if Antonio Brown is out there, what does that do for Julian Edelman? I actually think it's going to help him. I think it's going to hurt Josh Gordon and help Julian Edelman. I see a lot more similarities in how Antonio Brown plays versus Josh Gordon. And the reason that that's really, really interesting is I have Josh Gordon. So if Edelman gets help, Gordon gets hurt, that's good for Blake, obviously. The other key is definitely going to be Sammy Watkins. Tyreek Hill going down. He put up huge points last week. Oakland is without Jonathan Abram. They don't have that starting safety out there anymore. So there's definitely holes, and so we'll see if they can exploit that. For me, the person that I'm really looking at on my side is going to be Le'Veon Bell. Number 1, is he healthy? Number 2, how effective can he be without Sam Darnold? And just can he put up the points that he needs to put up? I also did go with Tyrell Williams. I think he's got a chance to put up some numbers. Number 1, he's the guy. Number 2, Oakland looked like their offense was not going to be bad. Number 3, they're playing KC. They're going to be behind. They're going to be throwing the ball. Hopefully he can put up some points. I do think this one's going to be close. I think that there are a lot of variables into who pulls this one out. Right now, with the concerns about Le'Veon Bell's health and with Sam Darnold being out, it may be just because it's kind of fresh wounds, but I'm actually going to take Blake in this matchup. Next matchup is between Cole and Logan. Logan's projected to get the win. Cole doesn't have a tight end. So Cole should definitely put somebody out there, but I think he doesn't want to make any changes to his bench. I got to be honest with you. I don't think Hunter Henry's going to play. He has an injury history. He hasn't been super efficient whenever he's been out there. I think that it might be time to move on, and you can get somebody to plug in there and maybe give you the edge. So that's going to be kind of the focus for Cole, is what's he going to do about his tight end. I love putting Deshaun Jackson in there, especially against Atlanta, who just showed that they can be exposed. However, that was mostly on the ground. So we'll have to see how Philadelphia tries to go at it. I think Minnesota only had like 90 passing yards. So with somebody that is that exploitable on the ground, you never know if they're going to throw the ball that much. For Logan, it's going to be Austin Eckler, I think. So how effective can Austin Eckler be? Is he going to steal that starting job? Is Melvin Gordon's holdout really going to come back and bite him in the ass? We're going to have to see. But just looking at the teams right here on paper, I think Stafford's actually a pretty good pick. I don't think Dak is going to be as effective, even if it is just Washington. I'm going to go with Logan. I think Logan just has more top-to-bottom strength than Cole. I know Cole just put up ridiculous numbers, so I'll have to eat those words. But I'm going to go with Logan for now. In this matchup, Daniel versus Jonathan, for me, this really isn't much of a concern. I think Delaney Walker is going to put up more than 7.4 points. I think he's going to continuously be somebody the Titans rely on. And against the Colts, we're going to need one of those guys, one of those veteran guys to step up and make some plays. So Delaney Walker is probably my key for Daniel. For Jonathan, when I'm looking at it, Saquon Barkley is probably going to be the person to keep an eye on because as he goes, the Giants go. They can throw the ball a little bit. Evan Ingram looked really efficient, and they were actually really good on screen passes and play action. So all of that is really keying off of how Saquon Barkley's playing, and Buffalo's a decent matchup in terms of that. But looking at these two teams, I'm definitely going to lean on Jonathan. So I'm going to pick Jonathan in this matchup. Here we got Brandon and Clint. I think Brandon's team, I gave him a low draft grade, but Lamar Jackson doesn't actually look bad, and that was a big focus in my draft grades. Was I thought Lamar Jackson would be an ineffective passer, much like he was last season, but he actually looked quite good. So we'll see how that is moving forward. I think that's probably going to be the key that we want to keep an eye on is how does Lamar Jackson play against an opponent. Arizona is not much better than Miami, so we already saw what he did last week. If Hollywood Brown's as good as he looks, that could be a big point for Brandon. On Clint's team, as of now, he hasn't replaced Darius Geis with anybody. We know he's out. We know he's probably out for a while. So he's going to plug in somebody at that flex spot, which is going to make the projections a little bit closer. The key to focus on here is definitely Big Ben and Juju Smith-Schuster. So how that Steelers offense bounces back from a rough performance in front of the nation against New England on Sunday night this week doesn't get a whole lot better. You're against Seattle. But the Steelers historically bounce back from those kind of defeats really well. And so how they perform this week is going to be kind of a really good indicator for what we should expect moving forward. So just looking at the teams right here on paper, not really knowing who Clint is going to plug in here at the flex position, my gut choice is to go with Brandon because I do think Lamar Jackson can be really effective against Arizona. So with our second to last matchup, we've got Dustin versus Jeremy. Jeremy's team looks bad. He's got some pieces to plug in. Like I said, right now Tyreek Hill is still in his lineup. He's got to put somebody up there. I mentioned that Larry Fitzgerald looked really strong, so hopefully he'll put him in for that, which does make the projections actually rather close. So I think for Jeremy, the biggest key is going to be Chris Carson, how he manages that role in Seattle's offense. Is he going to take over as the feature back, or is it going to be a running back by committee approach? What's it going to do? They pretty much said we're okay with doing that, but Carson looked pretty strong, so hopefully they'll continue to roll with him. For Dustin, I think that the most interesting is going to be Aaron Rodgers. He looked really bad against Chicago, which is one of the strongest defenses in the league, so we have to remember that. But Minnesota is no slouch either, and this is a tough matchup. If you have 2 bad weeks in a row, given the drama surrounding him and Matt LaFleur, people are going to start asking questions. Distractions are never good. I think he really needs this bounce-back week. But as far as making my prediction, I'm going to take Dustin 7 days out of the week in this matchup. I like Dustin's team a lot better. And finally, we're looking at Thomas versus Matt. I think both of these teams are really strong. I gave them both high draft grades in the recap, and the teams did not disappoint last week, putting up really solid point totals. I think Matt was like 120, Thomas was 123, something like that. The projection's a little off right here in terms of how those points are going to shake out. I think Matt has two really interesting people that we should focus on this week. Jarvis Landry. Can he get involved in the offense? It was kind of invisible last week in Tennessee. And I think that there's a lot of frustration in Cleveland right now. And if you have two bad games, the discipline is atrocious. And I am wearing my Browns hat, by the way. But discipline was horrible. I thought they played dirty. I thought they played lost. Baker tried to force things. He kind of got exposed. You have to wonder if this is going to be a sophomore slump for him. Jarvis Landry's got to get involved in that offense. He doesn't want to take a backseat to OBJ. That's not going to be good for Cleveland. The other person for Matt's team is Todd Gurley. It was kind of puzzling to not see him get a whole lot of the workload after what we've been hearing the last couple of weeks. Definitely concerning that he was not the focal point of the offensive game plan. So you would really like to see him get more of the carries there. For Thomas's team, it's really tough to pick who we want to see focused. Obviously, Devonta Freeman was not effective last week, but nobody on Atlanta's team was. I'm going to say that your most interesting point here is Leonard Fournette. So Nick Foles goes down. You've got a new quarterback stepping in. They traded for Josh Dobbs. They're obviously not sure what their long-term future looks like at quarterback. How is Leonard Fournette going to step up? And is he going to say, hey, I can give you guys some stability. I can be that feature back that is going to grind some runs out, make some things happen, protect your quarterback in blocking. Is he going to be a valuable franchise running back, or are we kind of reaching the bust point? I think that's where we're at. Looking at the teams, it's hard to argue against Patty Mahomes and Christian McCaffrey, and for those reasons, I'm going to go with Thomas. So without going back into the matchup screen, just a quick little go through. I picked Blake against me. I picked Logan against Cole. I picked Jonathan against Daniel. I picked Brandon against Clint. Dustin against Jeremy. And finally, Thomas against Matt. So those are my predictions. We'll see how they shake out this week. Thanks guys for tuning in. Let me know if you like this format. Give me some feedback. I'll try to get this uploaded ASAP. Hopefully you guys will be watching it on Thursday before the Thursday night games for Carolina and Tampa Bay. If not, sorry, I will try to do better. Give me some suggestions on what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see in the future, changes I can make to the format, anything like that. Thanks. Appreciate it. See you guys.